when the fuck did everything become Stranger Things? When did this happen? When was this decision made, and why was I not CC'd on the email? Seriously, everything is Stranger Things now. I just imagine that the heads of Universal, Warner Brothers, Disney, Sony, they all got together one afternoon for their weekly Eyes Wide Shut party, you know? They're in the Hollywood Hills. They're all wearing creepy masks. And before they got down to the nitty gritty, they just had a quick conversation. So guys, from now on, we're only going to make Stranger Things. Cool? All right, great. Now blow me. What is this? Everything is Stranger Things. Everything. I know 80s nostalgia is hardly new. I get it. But man, I used to love watching E.T. And now I can't watch E.T. without thinking to myself, oh, what a cool E.T. reference in that insurance commercial last week. Oh. You know, all right, here's what I'm talking about. Wonder Woman 1984. Who's interested in this? Besides Brie Larson, who I guess was crazy about it on Twitter this week. Who's interested in Wonder Woman 1984? I know people liked the original Wonder Woman and they liked it because of girl power, all that shit. But no, they also liked it because it was a compelling war movie, right? And it worked really well in that second act as a love story and also just as a pretty badass war movie. But that third act, really weak. That first act, kind of weak as well. The Amazonian shit, who cares? Greek god with lightning coming out of his fingertips, fuck it, who cares? So I want more of a war story in my Wonder Woman movies. I am sick of the fish out of water bullshit. I am sick of Gal Gadot and Chris Pine dancing to synth music from the 80s. The Cure and fucking, I don't know, Eurythmics. Enough. I'm sick of this era. And I'm especially sick of this era being explored in this way. There's got to be another take on an 80s movie. You know? There has to be a different point of view, a different visual template, a different soundtrack. There's got to be something that doesn't scream Stranger Things. You cannot convince me that every 80s kid grew up in the same environment, with the same cultural taste, with the same hairstyles, with the same clothing. Like, it's just so paint by numbers. The visual palette and the soundtrack and the jokes and the references and the Reagan era bullshit. Like, oh, I get it, man. I get it. Show me a different point of view. Show me an 80s kid that didn't play Dungeons and Dragons and that didn't own Thriller, that didn't have a mullet. I wasn't even alive in the 1980s, and I feel like I know it better than 2019. Ugh. Wonder Woman 1984. Kristen Wiig's in there. Gal Gadot is back, deflecting bullets in slow motion. Chris Pine is alive for some reason. Pass, bro. I'll pass. Same goes for Ghostbusters 3. What the fuck is this piece of shit? What is going on in Ghostbusters Afterlife? Paul Rudd, Carrie Coon, and can't make this shit up, the kid from Stranger Things. The kid from Stranger Things is literally the main character in this movie. Jason Reitman directs. Ivan Reitman, of course, his father, the original director of Ghostbusters. They're calling it Ghostbusters 3, which means it's a direct sequel to the first two movies. I suppose Bill Murray and Sigourney Weaver and Dan Aykroyd are back. Couldn't care less about that. I don't know what Paul Rudd is doing in this movie. I guess, it's basically E.T. with the Ghostbusters car. And it's very sentimental and it's very nostalgic. And there are shots of cornfields, and there are kids doing kid things, and it's set in a small town in Indiana, or wherever it is. Again, you could not be trying any harder to mimic Stranger Things, and I just find this attempt to be shameless. This is ridiculous. What is happening here? And you know me and Ghostbusters. I have a very complicated relationship with that movie. I believe that it sucks, and I am one of the few people on Earth that are brave enough to say that. But, you know, the Ghostbusters sequel should not look like this. The Ghostbusters sequel should not look like a Spielberg movie. Like, if you're gonna do it, you know? That's why I didn't hate the Ghostbusters remake as much as most people did. Although I don't like that series very much. What Paul Feig was going for there was karaoke, and it was a cash grab, but it at least inhabited the spirit of that original movie. Like, this is pure nostalgia bait. This is like attempting to be dark and gritty and real. Ugh. The second I see the Ghostbusters car, the second I see one of those vacuum cleaners with the stream at the end of it, I don't know what they're called, sue me. Sorry. The second I see that, I'm like, really? You have the gall to play a dramatic piano score underneath this? You have the gall? You're making Ghostbusters. Get over yourselves. Ghostbusters Afterlife. I'm boycotting that movie. No shot I'm seeing this movie. I don't care what you all say. In fairness, these next two movies have nothing to do with Stranger Things. Or at least I hope not. The first is Black Widow, which is a Marvel movie. That was my takeaway from that trailer. And I'm watching it and I'm thinking, wow, this feels a lot like a Marvel movie. Because it is a Marvel movie. And it stars the woman from Marriage Story, looking as beautiful as ever. I am excited for Florence Pugh in that movie. I loved her in Midsommar, even though I hated the movie. She is a terrific young actress, and apparently she's great in Little Women as well. Yeah, the cast looks fun. Oh, actually, it does have something to do with Stranger Things, because David Harbour is in it. I'm telling you, everything is Stranger Things. I'm so over that show. I mean, cool. Black Widow's getting a movie finally. She's dead. She died in Avengers Endgame. Spoiler alert. So, the stakes are going to be at an all-time low in this movie. But, you know, that's fine, I guess. Black Widow prequel. Should have been made 5 years ago. I guess that's my take. And now I see it, and I'm like, oh, this is like Captain Marvel again. Cool. Next. Bring me your Thor movie. Bring me your Doctor Strange movie. Yeah? Black Widow, whatever. Cool. I'll see it. And then, of course, No Time to Die released a trailer this week. The latest iteration in the Bond series. You know, I don't think we talk about this nearly enough. The James Bond franchise, specifically the Daniel Craig James Bond franchise, has been so polarizing. It has been incredibly hit or miss. And I think we think of these movies as a win, and we think of this series as being successful because it does very well at the box office. And I think most people agree Daniel Craig is really good as James Bond. And it also has two incredible franchise installments. Casino Royale, great movie. Skyfall, one of the best movies of the decade. Really, really good. And so the series gets a lot of credit for its highs, but does not get a lot of shit for its lows. Quantum of Solace and Spectre are both not so great. Quantum of Solace especially, but Spectre, that flew under the shitty radar as well. That didn't get nearly as much flack as it should have. So now it's back. Cary Joji Fukunaga is directing. Daniel Craig says this is his final Bond movie. It will be a conclusion of some sort. Rami Malek plays the main villain. Christoph Waltz is back as Blofeld. Ray Fiennes is there. Jeffrey Wright is there. No Time to Die. I just think it's a coin flip. Like, it's such a funny thing with this franchise. We have no reason to believe this movie's going to be good, and we have no reason to believe this movie's going to be bad. But I suspect it's going to be one or the other. I suspect I'm going to be horribly disappointed by it or enthralled by it. If this is a mediocre movie, I will be shocked. This franchise is incapable of being mediocre. You know? This franchise is incapable of being just okay. You either have Pierce Brosnan and his shitty movies, you have Roger Moore and his shitty movies, or you have Goldfinger, or you have Skyfall. You have Dr. No. I'll see it, man. Looks fun. Cary Fukunaga, I wouldn't call him the most substantive director out there. He has a very distinct visual style, and True Detective Season 1 is really fun to look at. I don't think... maybe that's not fair. I'm not sure he's a great director of great material. Let's put it that way. He knows how to stage an action sequence. And maybe that's all we need out of James Bond. The good news is Phoebe Waller-Bridge took a stab at this draft, and Scott Burns, who wrote The Laundromat and The Report this year, also wrote a draft of this movie. So some interesting directors in the writer's room that can be very introspective and transgressive and are not afraid to play within the boundaries of the material and sometimes question the material and subvert the material. We'll see. We'll see. It's a James Bond movie, and although they are often thrilling and visually exciting, they don't necessarily push the boundaries of the genre all that much.